everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I thought I would detail what my school and work life has been like on my journey so far to Korea, and where my end goals are, what I want to do with my life, why I've made the choices that I've made, just to kind of give you a little insight into who I am and kind of what my life has been like the last couple of years. So first of all, why did I decide to go back to school? Well, let's actually talk a little bit about my previous education history. So I moved around a lot as a child. I spent my freshman and sophomore year in Colorado, my junior and senior year in a little tiny town called Oakland, Oregon. And I graduated from Oakland High School in 2008. Aging myself a little bit, for those that don't know, I'm actually 30 years old. I took a year off because I couldn't afford to go to college right away. I unfortunately didn't have anyone around me with the kind of financial support to be able to assist me with co-signing on student loans or anything of that nature. I had like a 3.3 GPA in high school, so it was good, but it wasn't good enough to warrant like those big scholarships that you hear of. So I had to take a year off. Now, I was able to go to school after that because my dad had started making significantly less money because he had gotten laid off. So they were able to adjust and I could get grants, which allowed me to attend the University of Oregon a year after I had graduated. So I started then in the fall of 2009, and I only went to the U of O for about a year. And I had to withdraw because I actually got really sick. There was also like a mix-up with my financial aid. It was really this huge thing that happened. I attended for a semester and they said that the financial aid had been withdrawn, but they didn't tell me about it until it was too late. So I owed the school a lot of money. They had a hold on my transcripts until I could pay that money off. Now, it was a significant amount of money. It wasn't something that someone who makes minimum wage, even working 3 jobs, could even hope to pay for in a couple of years. Unfortunately, that meant if I was to try to go to school anywhere else, I wouldn't be able to go because I owed the University of Oregon so much money. And I wasn't able to get a hold of my transcripts. So if I did start over at, say, a community college, I'd have to retake all of those classes. Now that was a really big deterrent for me. It wasn't something that I really relished doing. I had a lot of time and money already soaked into school, and it was so disheartening to have to stop, especially because I was getting really good grades. I had all A's and B's. So it wasn't something that I was really looking forward to having to do right away. So when I first stopped going to school, it was really hard, and then I kind of adjusted my life path and decided maybe school wasn't the best choice for me. And I focused on careers where I did not need a degree. I really wanted to do Clinton Anderson's Horse Academy in Texas because I've been training horses since I was like 12 years old. And that became my goal. That was something I wanted to do. Now you do have to pay like $10,000 out of pocket in order to do that, but that's for 4 years of your education with him. You become a certified clinician by the time you're done with it. So that definitely sounded like something I really wanted to do, and that's what I was working towards. I was in Florence, Oregon at the time that I made that decision. I was working 3 jobs, 3 minimum wage jobs. And one of them was at the horse stables up there. One was at the gas station. I was literally just pumping people's gas for them. And then the last job, I worked as a table games dealer at the local tribal casino. Now, by doing that, I gained a skill that I could take to a lot of different places and make more money than what I was making there. So by doing table games, it's what brought me to Las Vegas. I went there for a weekend with one of my friends. We both got hired on the spot. We flew back, put in our 2 weeks notice, packed all of our stuff and left for Vegas. So I ended up in Las Vegas. I dealt at multiple different casinos over my 7 years there. I dealt at the Stratosphere, I dealt at Hooters Casino, I dealt poker there. I dealt at the Hard Rock Casino, both at the pool at Rehab and inside and the party pit. So I did a lot of different things. And then I was also working at the horse stables there. It's called Cowboy Trail Rides, if anyone wants to know. And I was just kind of surviving and saving money, and I was headed to the Horse Academy in Texas. And then after a few years in Vegas doing that, my life has a way of throwing obstacles in your path. And for me, those obstacles are usually pretty big, and it's usually of a financial kind of situation. So I have always had the policy that you either adapt and you change paths, or you let it just bulldoze you over and you never recover, right? So for me, I've always just chosen to accept it and go a different way, right? I can have more than one dream and more than one goal and still feel fulfilled. So I changed again. I talked a little bit in my introduction video about how long I've wanted to live in another country, and that never really changed. I always wanted to do it. It was something always in the back of my mind. I just wasn't sure how to go about getting there. And you can watch that video if you want to hear me talk more about why I picked Korea and how I got to that decision. But for working, working as a table games dealer in Las Vegas can either be phenomenal or it can suck really bad. The winter time is hard. There's no customers, and you get paid $7.25 an hour plus tips. So if there's no customers, there's no tips, and you're making barely minimum wage. In the summertime though, there's so many people there. You're working 18-hour days, like 6 days a week. It's great, you save up all this money, but it's not quite enough to carry you through the entire year. So I was running into this problem where I'd have these great months, and then I'd have these months where I was just like pulling my hair out because I wasn't sure how I was going to feed my dogs. So I decided to leave the industry, and I went to work for what was then Solar City, which is now Tesla. Tesla bought them out about a year after I started there. So I worked in their scheduling department in an office, which before then I had never seen myself working in business or in an office at all. It wasn't even on my radar. It didn't feel like the right fit for me. I was always such an outdoor person. I wanted to be a vet when I first went to the University of Oregon. So it was something totally different. It had nothing to do with animals. It was just like a 9-to-5 kind of job. It wasn't quite 9 to 5 for me, but you know what I mean. It was, you show up to work, you work in an office, you have a cubicle, you have your own computer, and you just kind of do your job. Well, it turned out that I was actually really good at it. I am really good with people. I worked in their scheduling department. I got promoted a couple of times really quickly. I was really good at problem solving and de-escalating customers. So it was something that was a really natural fit for me. And learning that I was so good at it and that I actually enjoyed the environment opened up a whole new world of possibilities in terms of a career, like a long-term career, and what my goals could be. So I worked for Tesla for a few years, and from there I started to go back to school. Now, I did take a course to learn how to read heart rhythms at a hospital, and I got certified to do that while I was working at Tesla. Tesla was having some issues at the time. They were laying off all kinds of people. They were straight up just getting rid of positions left and right. I didn't know if my position was going to be safe. So I was looking for backup options, and I came across this certification that was fairly inexpensive to get. did require a significant time to learn, because anything in the medical field does. But I was able to get it at the local community college, and I'm certified for life now, which is great. It's another skill that I've learned how to do, which I always think anytime you can gain a new skill, you just leave yourself in a better position, right? So I was working at Tesla. I got certified for that. I didn't start applying for jobs in it right away. I just kind of hung on to my certification for a couple of years, about a year and a half, I think, actually. And I had started school. So I was going to school full time and I was working at Tesla full time. And that first year, my freshman year, was just crazy. I was taking like 17 or 19 credits a semester, and I was working like 60 to 80 hours a week. And my mind was turning to mush. Working those kind of hours. Tesla's not, like, what I did for Tesla was not an easy job. Like, it required a lot of mental power to be able to do. You had to be on all the time. You had to get screamed at all day long. You had to make so many phone calls. You had to rewrite processes. You had to troubleshoot all the time. You couldn't make mistakes. At Tesla, they say excellence is the passing grade. So you have to be excellent or above every single day that you're there. It was a great learning experience. I loved being there, but it was too much to do while I was also going to school. So I started finally looking around to do the heart monitor jobs at the hospitals, because they work you 3/12s, right? 3 12-hour shifts. I don't mind working a long shift. Like I said, as a dealer, I did 18 hours. It is what it is. It's kind of like once you're already there, you just kind of stay. So that never really bothered me, and I could really work around my school schedule. I could work night shifts and I could work on the weekends, so it never interfered with test times or homework time. So I made the transition from working at Tesla to working in the hospital. I did that for about a year or so in Vegas, and I was planning on staying there and just transferring to the University of Nevada, Las Vegas when I finished. But when I was in my spring semester, it was honestly the end of February or the beginning of March. My economics professor sat me down. I will never forget this, Professor Kwan, if he ever watches this. Thank you so much. Professor Kwan was a hard teacher. I would say he was by far the most difficult teacher that I had at CSN. But I loved him. I loved how what I understood in his class, I knew for life. You know, economics is a really hard subject for those that don't know. It's not something easy to grasp for most people. And he doesn't really pull any punches with it. It's all theory-based. Your questions that you get answered you might get one question, and another question that's on the same information can go right over your head because you just don't know how to apply it correctly. But anyway, I took 2 different courses with Professor Kwan my sophomore year. I took microeconomics with him in fall semester, and then I took statistics with him in spring semester. And it was during my statistics course, I had gone to him for some office hours, which I usually did after tests to review anything that I had missed and make sure I understood the information before we moved on. And he basically sat me down and he asked me where I was planning on transferring for my 4-year. Now, Professor Kwan was actually Korean, and he knew about my goal to live in Korea. He knew that's why I wanted to move there. And he told me I was wasting my potential by going to UNLV, and that I needed to at least apply to a lot of the better schools in the country. The problem with this is that this conversation happened about 2 weeks before applications were due for all of these colleges. So that was a lot of pressure, and it was pretty stressful. He basically told me that in Korea, where you go to school and the name brand of the school matters a lot in the workforce. And he graduated from USC, and he said when he went back to Korea just tutoring English even, because of where he graduated, he could demand a lot more money. even just as a tutor. And the same was the case no matter kind of what job you entered in over there. And getting those good jobs at the good companies required a degree from a good school, not just a random school that's ranked like 384 in America. By the way, if you don't know, UNLV is ranked number 384 in the country. So I had originally just thought of going there. I lived in Vegas. It was cheap. It was easy. It was right there. But he made a lot of sense. So I went ahead and put in my application to a few different schools. Now, I did get accepted into Columbia's School of General Studies. I'll link their webpage down below, but it's the university, it's Columbia College. It's the same campus, it's the same teachers. But it's a separate program that's specifically designed for non-traditional students like myself, who still want to get like an Ivy League education, but normal, if you just apply for the main school, they only accept like 3% transfer students or some ridiculous thing. Oh, it's almost completely high school seniors. So it's really, really competitive, and it's just a way to allow for non-traditional students to also be looked at a little bit more closely. I was accepted there. Now the problem is that it was too expensive and there was no way for me to actually be able to go. I did qualify for their maximum aid, but it just wasn't enough. So I found out right when I thought that I had heard back from everybody and I wasn't going to be able to go anywhere, I actually finally heard back from the University of Rochester and I was accepted. And it just kind of worked out that I was able to get in and go. Now on that same list of 2020's like top ranked schools, Rochester is ranked like number 27. It's considered one of the new Ivies, is a term that I've heard a lot, but it's a really good school and it's a really good business school. It's a little smaller, a little less well known than some of the others, but I'm learning from people that are in the top of their field. My marketing professor, she's worked for Amazon and Facebook and Coca-Cola. So it's really, really cool to get this really good education, and the end goal is that it's going to help me get the right job once I get to Korea for the right amount of money. So I'm a junior now. I'm in my spring semester, which means I've got this semester and 2 more to go, and then I've got my bachelor's in business with a marketing track. So I'm really excited. School's been really great. The only problem is that I have done this entire school year remote. Now, I left Las Vegas pretty much right after I found out that I got accepted into the University of Rochester. And then I was visiting my family here in Birmingham, Alabama, and my financial aid wasn't quite what I was hoping it would be. This year, with COVID, I really wanted to be closer to my family. My mom is extremely immunocompromised. So it just seemed like a good idea to spend some time with them while I had the option. Rochester was offering every single class with an online option for people. There are people I know that are stuck in all kinds of countries in my classes that aren't on campus. So it's been really good. I work at the hospital here too. I do the cardiac monitoring thing. It's hard because COVID is rampant. I don't want to go too deep into COVID right now, but just know working at the hospital during this has been really insane, and it's made school very stressful this year. I didn't do quite as well on some of my finals last semester as I wanted to, because right around that time, like half my staff was out with COVID. So all my coworkers were gone. We were working with only 2 people instead of 5 on most nights. Sometimes I was there by myself. So things have just been a little crazy. I'm hoping for much better things this semester. I still did good last semester, don't get me wrong, but this semester should be better. And I'm hoping by next year things will be calmed down enough for me to be able to get to New York. And then once I'm done, I plan on going straight to Korea. Hopefully I'm able to get a job right away with my degree, but if I'm not, then I'll probably teach English for a year or 2 until I can get my language skills high enough to get the job that I want there. But Yeah, that's my school and work experience. I know it's kind of all over the place. If you have any questions for me, I've worked so many different kinds of jobs. I'm really good at putting together a resume and a cover letter. I'd be happy to kind of discuss that a little bit if you want to. And even talk a little bit more about my admission process into Rochester and what that was like. I'd be happy to discuss it. So if you have any questions about that, or if there's a topic that you would like me to cover that I haven't already, feel free to let me know in the comments below. And I will talk to you all next time. Bye for now.